we are very glad that you managed to come here today to have this press conference on our property, which is the future National Technical Center. There has been a number of malicious reports around Fun Valley regarding the valuation of Fun Valley and how it was procured. But we thought that let us rather give you the facts so that you have the facts rather than reporting based on unconfirmed, unfounded allegations. So the facts are as follows. The South African Football Association has always wanted to own a property of its own. That has been the desire of South African football since its formation in 1991. So, however, funding was restricting us. We did not have enough funds to purchase a property that we could develop into a national technical center. So that opportunity presented itself through the 2010 FIFA Legacy Trust Fund. As the association, we decided to apply to the FIFA Legacy Trust for funding to purchase a property that we develop into a national technical center. The National Executive Committee of SAFA took a tour. They came to this property sometime back in 2014, August 2014. They came, they viewed this property, they liked the property, they saw the potential of developing a national technical center. Then they had a meeting as the National Executive Committee, and in that meeting they mandated the then Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Dennis Mambo, to conclude or to negotiate with the seller and submit an application to the FIFA Legacy Trust for funding of the property. Indeed, Mr. Dennis Mambo and myself and Ms. Wafika Beck, who was the legal manager at that time, we came to meet the seller, Mr. Godfrey Cohen, to negotiate a possible sale of this property. We negotiated with him. We expressed our interest in buying this property. We negotiated a price with him. He indicated at that time that his asking price was 70 million rands for this property. We then told him that we don't have the 70 million, can we negotiate downwards? He told us that he had an offer from a church which was being funded from the United States of America, and the offer was 70 million. But however, because he was a football person, he wanted to see football grow in this country, he was prepared to sell this property to us at 65 million. So we were comfortable with the 65 million. We then presented a business case and an application to the 2010 FIFA Legacy Trust. That application was submitted to the trust in November 2014. On the 13th of November 2014, the Board of Trustees of the Legacy Trust were scheduled to have a meeting. But a day before that, on the 12th of November 2014, the trustees of the Legacy Trust decided to come and view this property. So all the trustees came here, they took a tour, they checked the property, and they were happy with the property. The following day, which was the 13th of November, they had a board meeting. In that board meeting, they considered our application, the SAFA's application for funding, and the trustees approved that application, but on condition that evaluation of this property is done. So the trustees mandated the general manager of the trust, Mr. Joe Karim, to commission a company that will value this property. Mr. Joe Karim indeed commissioned a company known as LDM Valuators to conduct a valuation of this property. SAFA, we were not involved in the valuation. but the trust was involved in the valuation. The valuators came back with a report on the 7th of May 2015, and the value of the property was put at 63.7 million. That's the independent valuation that was done. That report was submitted to the trustees of the FIFA Legacy Trust. And the trustees considered that report, that value. They were happy with that value of 63.7 million. And they approved the funding to SAFA. We then received a communication from the general manager of the trust, Mr. Joe Karim, confirming that our application was approved and the valuation was done at 63.7 million, and the trustees also approved that. The valuation of 63.7 million was the value of the land and the improvements. So that's what they valued at 63.7 million. But as SAFA, we were buying the land, the improvements, but over and above that, we were buying the business. Fund Valley was used as a business, and the business was accommodation units. They were renting out accommodation units. They were also having people coming to use the facility as a pleasure resort. They also had conference facilities. People were hiring the venue for conference facilities, wedding venues, and so forth and so on. So we decided to buy the business as well. So we bought the business as a going concern. And the value of the business at that time, we did not do the value of the business, but safe to say that the books that we received from the seller indicated that the business was making 5 million profits per year. That's what they were making per year. So therefore, when we settled for a selling price of 65 million, to us, it was a very good deal, because the land and the property were worth 63.7 million, plus we were getting a business which was making 5 million profit per year. So the value of 65 million was a very good deal for us. So we then concluded a deal, a sale deal with the seller, and we appointed Edward Nathan Sonenbex to be our lawyers and assist us with the transfer process. So they drafted an agreement for us, a sale agreement for us, which was duly signed by the seller, Mr. Godfrey Cohen, and SAFA. Mr. Dennis Mumble signed on behalf of SAFA. So the deal was then concluded. Then Edward Nathan assisted us with the transfer process, and the property was finally transferred into SAFA's name in November 2015. And by the way, this property is 38 hectares, so it's not a small property, it's a huge property. And for 65 million, we still believe that we got a good deal. So those are the facts around Fund Valley, our future National Technical Center.